But which brings us then to the question of tax and taxation. Governments run on the basis of resources.
Yes.
They implement projects on the basis of money that is available.
Yes.
The financial planning really should primarily begin from the understanding that they can actually raise resources locally
Yes.
before they can reference themselves elsewhere. So we would wish you to
Yes.
link tax and taxation
Yes.
to these three elements that you've spoken about, because this is important. If I can, if the MP, the member of parliament, or the member of the MCA,
Yes.
the member of the local county assembly has
Yes.
to make decisions
Yes.
that have an impact on my income or my business or my household expenditure,
Yes.
I need to really know how that relates to the question of power, the democracy that you talked about, and governance.
Yes.
Because this is not an ordinary story, and
Yes.
it's not necessarily a story that is taught in a classroom.
Yes.
So speak a little bit to that, how tax and taxation,
Yes.
because this is important. There's tax and
Yes.
there's taxation. So
Yes.
tax, we understand.
Mhm.
Taxation becomes a problem.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So there are probably two powers that we cede to government that are the most important of all the powers that we cede to government.
Yes.
I think one is the monopoly of violence,
Mm-hmm.
the power to provide security, police us, etc., and the taxing power.
Mm.
Because as you've said, without the taxing power, without resources, we cannot then protect ourselves. We cannot then secure our liberties. We cannot then provide for the livelihoods that we need.
Mm.
To provide a livelihood for yourself, you need roads to work. You need resources such as water, power, electricity. And that can only come if this entity that you call government has resources. Government can only have resources if it taxes
The
the citizens. Yeah? But that is now where taxation comes in. Because taxation then is a power the power to levy tax that we give government, and it can be abused. Like any power, it can be abused. In other words, for example, it can be used in ways that are not fair, or it can be used in ways that are not accountable. So if you look at the governance around taxation is supposed to be done according to certain principles, three of which I can mention. One is equity. Mm-hmm. That you want to be able to tax people in accordance with their abilities to pay. So the more that somebody the more that somebody earns, the more rationally, the more taxes they should pay. The less, conversely, the less somebody earns, the less they should pay. So equity. Number two, fairness. The taxing power should be administered in a way that is fair. Because it is fairness that encourages its citizens to give money voluntarily.
Okay.
So if you perceive or if you believe that government is going to treat you fairly, you're, for example, going to report your income, by filing tax returns, you're going to report your income honestly. Mm-hmm. But if you don't feel that it's going to be fair, then you're not going to
report it.
Mm. And then three is accountability. And that also encourages citizens to give their money to government. Government must be accountable for the tax, for the uses of the tax that it has collected. So taxation then should be based on those principles. Now, from a power perspective, you expect that, and if you tie it to historically to how we've been governed, our system of government or governance is one that is based. It's a product of British colonialism, And it is a system of government that tries to protect the regime in power. It protected the colonial regime. Unfortunately, we didn't change it when we got independence. So we just changed the people that ran it, but it never changed. So the logic of that governance system is to maintain the regime that is in power, the government that is in power, the state that is in power. So they then use these powers of government that are at their disposal to keep citizens in check, to oppress citizens that are opposed to them, for example. And so the taxing power is used in that sense. It tends to be used in that sense. It can be used, if you've noticed the goings on in the last, there have been several examples where Keroche Industries would be a very good example of this phenomenon. You'd ask yourself, were the tax assessments that were levied against Keroche Industries, were they fair?
Mm-hmm.
And even in terms of the administration of those taxes,
Yes.
was it fair, or was it being done to achieve certain political aims?
Yes.
So depending on whether you're in the good books of government, whether they perceive you as a regime opponent or a regime proponent, they will then use the tax regime to advance political regime interest.